The wind moves first. It always does on the Mongol steppe. Long before footsteps are heard or banners are seen, the wind announces presence, weeping across endless grasslands like a living thing, carrying dust, emery, and the echo of hooves. It was this wind that welcomed Khutulun into the world, a world forged by conquest, ruled by strength, and shaped by the iron will of warriors who believed the earth itself could be claimed if you rode hard enough and fought long enough. She was born into power, but not comfort, into royalty, but not safety. Khutulun was the daughter of Kaidu Khan, one of the most formidable men of his age, and the granddaughter of Genghis Khan, the architect of the largest contiguous land empire in human history. Her bloodline was heavy with expectation. Sons were born to rule. Daughters were born to bargain peace through marriage. That was the order of the world. That was how empires survived. But some lives arrive already leaning against the rules, testing their strength. From the moment Khutulun could stand, the ground beneath her feet was not polished stone or woven rugs, but packed earth, scarred by boots and hooves. She did not learn silence. She learned motion. She did not learn obedience. She learned balance. While other girls were taught to lower their eyes, she was taught to look straight ahead, into the wind, into the distance, into the unknown. Her earliest memories were not lullabies, but the sound of horses breathing in the cold morning air, the creak of leather saddles, the sharp scent of sweat, dust, and iron. She remembers small hands gripping reins far too large for them, knuckles pale with effort as a horse surged forward beneath her. Fear came once. It never stayed, but by the time she could properly walk, she could already ride. The steppe was her classroom, the sky her ceiling, the wind her teacher. She learned the rhythm of the land instinctively, when the grass meant safety, when silence meant danger, when the horizon promised opportunity or death. Mongol children were raised fast because survival demanded it. Weakness was not corrected gently. It was erased. Khutulun thrived in this world. She trained alongside her brothers, not as a courtesy, not as entertainment, but as an equal. They ran until lungs burned. They rode until thighs trembled. They wrestled until the ground drank sweat and blood alike. And slowly, something unsettling became impossible to ignore. She was stronger, not just faster or tougher, but more aware. Where others relied on force, she relied on timing. Where others pushed, she pulled. Where others resisted, she redirected. Even as a child, she understood something many men never learn. That power is wasted when it fights itself. Her father watched quietly. Kaidu Khan was not a man easily impressed. He had fought campaigns, crushed rivals, defied emperors. He had seen sons wither under pressure and generals fail despite long preparation. Yet when he watched Khutulun train, he did not see novelty. He saw potential. He did something radical. He allowed it to grow. He did not stop her when she bruised men twice her age. He did not pull her away when whispers followed her victories. He did not remind her of her place. Instead, he sharpened her edge. He placed better instructors in her path, stronger opponents, harder tests. He let her become dangerous. In doing so, Kaidu broke an unspoken law of his world. Mongol women were respected, even powerful in domestic and political matters. But warriors, commanders, champions, those titles belonged to men. Always had, always would, unless proven otherwise. Khutulun proved it daily. By adolescence, she could outride seasoned warriors. She could wrestle trained soldiers into the dirt, not with rage, but with calm precision. The clang of swords in the training yard became background noise to her breathing. The sting of impact taught her where to shift her weight, where to bend instead of break. Pain was information. Fear was a signal. Failure was a lesson. And victory? Victory was expected. Yet the world outside the training grounds did not change as easily as muscles and reflexes. As Khutulun grew, so did the pressure to shape her into something acceptable. Courtiers whispered of alliances she could secure, marriages she could arrange, treaties her womb could seal. A princess was valuable currency. Khutulun listened and refused. She understood something most never dared to say aloud. Being born into power did not mean surrendering to it. She did not want to be traded. She did not want to be exchanged for peace like a hostage dressed in silk. She wanted agency. And agency, in her world, was taken, not granted. Her refusal unsettled many. Her confidence unsettled more. Her father's support unsettled everyone, because Kaidu did not just defend her right to train, he defended her right to choose. He watched her not as a daughter who must be protected, but as a force who must be prepared. Years passed. Her name began to circulate beyond the camp. Not loudly at first, not officially, just murmurs shared between warriors who had seen something impossible with their own eyes. A girl who threw men to the ground. A princess who never lost. A fighter who smiled only after the match was over. Stories travel fast across open land. Soon, they outran her. Men came from distant territories to see her. At first, they came out of curiosity, then out of pride, then out of ambition. Each one believed the same thing, that skill and strength belonged to them by right. That whatever she was, she would fold eventually. Khutulun did not fold. She studied her opponents the way hunters study prey, how they shifted their weight, how they breathed before a lunge, how arrogance made them predictable. She did not meet force with force. She met it with understanding. When she won, she did not boast. When she lost, rarely, she learned. Her victories began to mean more than bruises and broken pride. They became statements, silent challenges to a system that had never considered the possibility of her existence. And the world noticed. By the time she reached adulthood, Khutulun was no longer just Kaidu Khan's daughter. She was an idea, a disruption, a living question no one knew how to answer. What do you do with a woman who refuses to disappear? Suitors arrived with gifts and confidence. Princes who believed bloodline alone would outweigh skill. Warriors who mistook size for dominance. Each was certain tradition would save them. Tradition did not step into the ring. Khutulun did, and the ground remembered. She did not ask to be feared, but fear followed her anyway. Not the fear of cruelty, but the fear of inevitability. The fear that comes when certainty collapses, when long-held truths begin to crack. Every victory reinforced the same message. She was not an exception. She was proof. Proof that the limits placed on her had never been natural, only enforced. Her father's camp transformed around her. Matches became events. Crowds gathered. Bets were placed. Stories grew taller with every retelling. Men who lost did not just lose matches, they lost assumptions. Some left humiliated, others left changed. And Khutulun stood at the center of it all, not smiling for approval, not apologizing for dominance, not shrinking to ease discomfort. She stood exactly as she was, unapologetic, uncontainable, unfinished. Yet this was only the beginning. Because strength proven in games would soon be tested in war. Because a reputation forged in dust would be challenged by blood. Because a woman who could dominate men one by one would soon face a world determined to stop her altogether. The wind shifted again, and history leaned forward to listen. The challenges did not stop when the matches ended. If anything, they multiplied. Because once a woman proves she cannot be controlled in one arena, the world finds new arenas in which to test her. Khutulun's victories changed the atmosphere of Kaidu Khan's camp. What had once been murmurs turned into conversations. What had been curiosity hardened into calculation. Some saw opportunity in her strength. Others saw danger. Most saw disruption. A system survives only when everyone agrees to their role, and Khutulun had refused hers completely. Her brothers felt it first. They had grown beside her, trained beside her, bled beside her. In childhood, they had been equals in effort if not in outcome. But adulthood sharpened differences. Where they inherited authority by tradition, Khutulun earned it by performance. Where they were obeyed because of birth, she was followed because she won. And nothing unsettles inherited power more than earned loyalty. At council gatherings, eyes lingered on her longer than protocol allowed. When strategies were discussed, her opinions carried weight, sometimes more than those of men who had commanded longer. Warriors listened when she spoke. Soldiers watched her movements. Victories on the training ground translated into credibility in the war tent. This was not supposed to happen. Her brothers did not confront her openly. Not yet. Instead, resentment grew quietly, like a crack beneath ice. They questioned her influence. They questioned their father's judgment. They questioned the future. Kaidu Khan noticed. He always did. Age had not dulled his instincts, only refined them. He saw the tension tightening around his daughter like a drawn bowstring. He understood the danger, not to Khutulun's body, but to the unity of his house. Empires rarely fell from external threats alone. They fractured from within. Still, he did not pull her back. Instead, he pushed her forward. When conflict erupted along the borders of his territory, Kaidu made a decision that stunned his advisors. He placed Khutulun in a position of real authority. Not symbolic, not ceremonial, tactical command. Men protested. Loudly, they spoke of tradition, of morale, of obedience, of how warriors would never follow a woman into battle. Kaidu's response was simple. Watch them. Khutulun did not celebrate the appointment. She prepared for it. War was not a wrestling match. Strength alone meant nothing when arrows darkened the sky and horses screamed beneath fallen riders. Command required something deeper, clarity under pressure, vision amid chaos, restraint when instinct demanded recklessness. She studied. She listened. She learned the habits of enemies who believed her presence made them safe. She memorized terrain. She observed how fear spread faster than fire once leadership collapsed. Her first engagement came not with ceremony, but with urgency. A skirmish near a contested river crossing. Mongol cavalry against a rival force equally confident in speed and numbers. The air smelled of grass crushed beneath hooves, of metal warming under the sun, of sweat and anticipation. Khutulun rode at the front, not because she needed to prove courage, but because she understood momentum. Soldiers move differently when they see their commander risk the same fate they do. Fear diminishes. Resolve sharpens. When the clash came, it came fast. Hooves thundered like rolling storms. Arrows cut through air with deadly precision. Steel met steel, the sound sharp and intimate, each strike personal. Khutulun moved through it all with terrifying focus. She did not chase glory. She pursued objectives. When the enemy overextended, she redirected. When they pressed forward, she collapsed their flanks. When confusion spread, she amplified it. Orders flowed from her like breath, clear, direct, decisive. And when an enemy officer tried to rally his men, she did something that would define her legend far beyond the battlefield. She charged, straight into the heart of resistance. Guards moved to intercept her. She broke through them. She leaned from her saddle with impossible balance, reached out, and seized the officer by his armor. In one fluid motion, she ripped him from his horse and rode out with him trapped against her side like a burden already claimed. The sight shattered morale. Men do not fight well when their leaders are taken alive by a single rider. Panic spread. Lines broke. The river crossing was secured not through slaughter, but through shock. When the dust settled, her soldiers stared at her differently, not with disbelief, with certainty. Stories of that moment raced ahead of her again, carried by survivors and witnesses alike. A woman who did not just command, but dominated. A warrior who turned strength into strategy and fear into weaponry. Enemies began to recognize her silhouette. They feared it. But fear alone does not build loyalty. Khutulun understood this too. She did not waste lives carelessly. She protected retreats. She reinforced flanks others would abandon. When ambushes threatened to annihilate exhausted units, she intervened personally, gathering riders and countercharging with precision rather than desperation. Her troops gave her a name. Not loudly, not officially, the Shield, because she did not just win battles. She preserved lives, yet every victory tightened the knot waiting at home. Success magnifies scrutiny. Her brothers watched her rise with a mixture of awe and dread. Every campaign she returned from victorious made the unspoken question louder. What happens when Kaidu is gone? Tradition answered easily. Reality did not. The empire was already divided by larger forces, rival khans, competing claims, shifting alliances. Kaidu himself stood opposed to other branches of the Mongol world, fighting not just for land, but for legitimacy. In this fractured landscape, Khutulun's effectiveness made her indispensable, and indispensable figures are always dangerous. Whispers began circulating beyond her family, accusations dressed as concern, suggestions disguised as advice. Some claimed her influence threatened balance. Others hinted that her victories were unnatural, too consistent, too absolute. When skill cannot be denied, character is attacked. Khutulun heard the rumors. She ignored them. She had learned long ago that arguing with small minds wastes strength. Instead, she let her actions speak. She continued to fight, continued to command, continued to win. But inside, she felt the weight of isolation grow. Leadership is lonely even when celebrated. For Khutulun, it was lonelier still. She belonged fully to neither world. The domestic expectations placed on women nor the unquestioned authority granted to men. She stood between categories, unclassifiable, unsettling, and she paid for it in silence. At night, after victories, when fires burned low and camps quieted, she often stood alone at the edge of the steppe, listening to the wind. The same wind that had welcomed her into the world now carried the burden of what she had become. She wondered, not if she was strong enough, but how much strength this path would demand. Because power never stops asking for proof, and destiny never asks permission before raising the stakes. Ahead of her lay not just battles, but a reckoning. A moment where choice would matter more than skill, where restraint would outweigh dominance, where the future of an empire would hinge not on conquest, but on sacrifice. The wind did not answer her questions. It only moved forward. The body of Kaidu Khan began to fail long before his spirit did. Years of campaigns, councils, betrayals, and unending war had carved their toll into him. His breathing grew heavier, his movement slower, and with each passing season, the question everyone avoided began pressing closer to the surface. Succession. In the Mongol world, this was never a simple matter. Blood decided much, but not everything. Strength, loyalty, alliances, fear, all played their role. Sons prepared quietly, measuring one another, counting supporters, weighing possibilities. And in the center of it all stood Khutulun. She did not seek the throne. She never had. But power has gravity. It pulls attention whether you desire it or not. And by every measure that mattered, battlefield success, loyalty of troops, trust of the ruling Khan, she stood unmatched. This terrified people. Her brothers felt it most sharply. What had once been admiration curdled into resentment. Conversations stopped when she entered a room. Eyes followed her movements not with pride, but calculation. The camp that once celebrated her victories now studied them for danger. Even Kaidu felt the strain. He loved his daughter fiercely. He trusted her more than any of his sons. In private, he said what others only thought. She was worth 10 of them. Stronger, smarter, proven. If leadership were decided by merit alone, the choice would be obvious. But Kaidu also understood something brutal. Empires do not survive on truth alone. They survive on acceptance. A woman ruling openly would fracture alliances, invite rebellion, give enemies justification to strike. Even victory could not protect against belief. Khutulun saw all of this unfolding. She saw the danger her existence now posed, not to enemies, but to family, to unity, to the fragile stability holding their world together. And for the first time, she faced a battle she could not win with strength. The throne was not fought for with swords, but with whispers. Advisors urged Kaidu to choose carefully. Allies sent subtle warnings. Rivals waited eagerly for chaos. Every choice carried consequence. Every delay sharpened tension. Khutulun made her choice quietly. One night, when the camp slept and the wind moved low through the grass, she went to her father. Not as a commander, not as a symbol, but as a daughter. She told him the truth no one else dared speak. If he named her heir, the empire would bleed from within. Brothers would turn on brothers. Loyalties would fracture. Everything she had fought to protect would collapse under the weight of pride and fear. She did not argue her worth. She did not list her victories. She did not demand recognition. She offered restraint. Kaidu resisted. He raged against the injustice of it, against tradition, against a world that would rather accept mediocrity than excellence simply because of gender. But Khutulun did not waver. True strength, she told him, was knowing when not to claim what you have earned. When Kaidu's illness worsened, time ran out. Khutulun gathered her brothers. All of them, warriors who had once ridden beside her. men who now watched her with guarded eyes. She spoke without anger, without accusation. She proposed a compromise. One brother, capable, diplomatic, unthreatening, would take the throne. She would serve him, protect the realm, command the armies, preserve unity. By stepping aside, she removed the spark that would have ignited civil war. Some brothers were suspicious, others relieved. None could deny the wisdom of the move. And so, when Kaidu Khan finally died, the empire did not shatter. Khutulun did not become queen. She became something rarer. She became the power behind stability. She continued to lead campaigns, continued to defend borders, continued to command respect not through title, but through action. Her authority was no longer official, but it was absolute where it mattered most. Later in life, when the battles slowed and age finally reached her, Khutulun did something else the world did not expect. She married, not a prince, not a champion, not a ruler, a loyal man, a steady one, someone who did not fear her strength or seek to contain it. Their union was quiet, free of spectacle, free of symbolism. She did not give up command. She did not retreat into obscurity. She remained exactly who she had always been. But history, written by those uncomfortable with her existence, tried to reshape her story. Rumors appeared, accusations, claims of poison, witchcraft, secret murders. Anything to explain away what they could not accept, that a woman had achieved all of this through ability alone. Modern historians see through it now, because if Khutulun had been hungry for power, she would have taken it. If she had been ruthless, she would not have stepped aside. If she had been corrupt, she would not have protected the very people who doubted her. The lies say more about the writers than about her. Khutulun's true legacy was never a crown. It was possibility. She proved that strength is not owned by tradition, that leadership is not assigned by gender, that the limits placed on us are often nothing more than fear wearing the mask of custom. Centuries later, her story echoes still, through legend, through opera, through whispered tales passed from grandmother to granddaughter on the Mongol steppe. Be like Khutulun, they say. Be strong. Be brave. Be yourself, even when the world insists you should not be. Because heroism does not have a gender.